All right, let's pick up from yesterday in this bookshelf tour. We're ending the row of books that I would be willing to read out loud, at least on this shelf. This one is coming sooner rather than later, Dragon in the Water by Madeleine L'Engle, which I had as a paperback book as a kid. I don't know what happened to it. I didn't get into these books by her, the Polly O'Keefe books, of which this is one, until I was almost 30, so I'm looking forward to reading you this one. This is coming after Arm of the Starfish. Arm of the Starfish is coming up in the next couple of months, but I don't think I'm ever going to read Wrinkle in Time or Wind in the Door, just because there's a good recording of Madeleine L'Engle doing those books, and I kind of want to introduce you to the fringes of that universe. You can dive into the main part of it yourself, read them, or listen to another reader. Put that back. The 13 Clocks, which is a book that is, even though it's been illustrated by other people, is kind of dependent upon its artwork. It's by the guy who I knew first for having drawn Nate the Great, Mark Simont. And it's again James Thurber, who I showed you a book by him earlier. There are... 13 Clocks is kind of having a revival right now, and I don't know if I need to add to that. I think it's one that you could find on your own easily. The Wonderful O, which I still have not read, which is also illustrated by Mark Simont. I could see doing this. Like I said, I'm very eager to read some Thurber to you. I think Many Moons is going to be the first one I do. I have no idea if this one would work as a read aloud or not. This came out in the 70s, and I've got it. I wish I had the dust jacket for it, because I'd be really interested to see what that looked like. I've got it because my mom went to college with the daughter of the author, and the author signed it to me, Marjorie Warner. I was probably 16 when that happened. Abarat by Clive Barker, really fun book. Not one that I'll probably read aloud. There's a good audio book that exists of that already. This Lois Lane series by, I believe her name is Gwendolyn Bond. Let's see. Gwenda Bond. And what little I've read of this I really, really like. Obviously, this is not one that's going to work to be read. It's too contemporary. Young James Bond. This is the second leg of this series where it just started with a new author. I have really enjoyed the Young Bond series. This is obviously not one I'm going to read to you. I have it because I still haven't read it yet. Yeah. Back. Let's do that with it. Coraline, first edition, great book. Seek it out, read it yourself. Neil Gaiman, not because I don't love him, but because it's just too new and his lawyers could come after me, or the lawyers of the author of the book could come after me. There's a great audio of it read by the author. Same with Graveyard Book, great audio read by the author. Daniel Handler, whose star has faded, but boy, when he writes in the voice of a teenage girl, writes really good books, and Why We Broke Up is really fun. Shooter by Walter Dean Myers, which is a book with multiple narrators. I don't know that would work to read on my channel, because again, it's reading a character from another culture, which could be considered caricature, but we'll see what people think when I read Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry eventually. Wintersmith by Terry Pratchett. I could probably get my arm twisted to read some Terry Pratchett out loud. So I feel like it's not quite the same as doing Neil Gaiman. He has died. I don't know. I know there are some audiobooks of his stuff that I've listened to and really liked, but for some reason I feel like I could get away with doing Terry Pratchett more easily than Neil Gaiman. The Book of Dust, the latest by Philip Pullman, the kind of prequel to his Dark Materials. Great book, not going to read it on the channel. Brian Selznick's books are more visual than they are audio. Rebecca Steed's book, Till I Find You, or When You Reach Me is the name of it. Until I Find You is a John Irving book. This book is incredible. However, again, too contemporary for me to want to do on the channel, but seek this out. Rebecca Steed, When You Reach Me. It is an amazing, amazing book. And another Edward Gorey, really cool cover. The John Bellairs characters, but written by Brad Strickland. This one I'll probably get to. It'll take me a few years, though. Finish all the Bellairs and then do the Strickland ones. I bought this just because of how freaking awesome this cover is. And now I'm going to get down on my tummy and show you the bottom shelf. All right. The My Father's Dragon series. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. I will read that if you ask me to read them. There's the copy of Mary Poppins Comes Back that I couldn't find when I read a library copy. As you can see, the spine is all shot to heck. But yes, I've read that to you already. Read it to you at Christmas. Here are the Joan Aiken books that I have, so this will take up a couple of years, although there are quite a few books between The Stolen Lake and The Cuckoo Tree that happen in canon that were written later. So, I don't know, once we really get into that, those are the books about Ditto, we'll figure out how that's going to happen, maybe bought or ordered from the library. And these, of course, are all Edward Gorey covers. Some of them he redrew. He did original covers for him. I have one in my room you can look at. This is a newer one. I can't wait to get to this one, The Stolen Lake, because it is about King Arthur's court moving to South America and being sort of vampiric, and it's so weird and so much fun. So I think I'm going to read you 2 Joan Aiken books this year if everything goes according to plan, so we'll get there eventually. Here are all of the rest of the Lloyd Alexander Pride and Chronicles series that I talked about. Return of the Indian and Secret of the Indian, which I don't know that I need to hold on to those. I just bought them to read on the channel. The John Bellairs books, also all with Edward Gorey interiors or covers. Oversea Under Stone, which I've read you. Darkness Rising, which I've read you. Greenwich, which I've read you. Silver on the Tree, which I'm going to read you. The Grey King's not there because it's on my desk. Half Magic, which kicks off a series by Edward Eager where he is ripping off E. Nesbit to a extreme degree. If you'd like me to read you E. Nesbit, I'd be happy to, or Edward Eager. They're both really fun writers. Wise Child, which I've read you. Wrinkle in Time, which, like I said, I do not plan on reading. Wind in the Door, Swiftly Tilting Planet, and Many Waters, which I've already read you. And then I believe this one is called, what is it? An Acceptable Time, which I do plan to read to you. Centerburg Tales, Further Adventures of Homer Price. I will read that to you eventually. Behind the Attic Wall, I've already read you. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator is too racist even for me to want to read on my channel, so I probably won't read that, but Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, sure. George's Marvelous Medicine, haven't read that to you, but I would be happy to. What's it? Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I've already read to you. BFG, I've already read to you. Matilda, which I'd be happy to read to you. The Silver Crown by Robert C. O'Brien, I've already read to you. There's a Boy in the Girl's Bathroom, I have read to you already. Dominic by William Steig, which is one of my favorite illustrators. You're going to see a lot of him later on in another shelf video. very old, beat-up copy of this book. I doubt that it's in print anymore. But, yeah, it does pretty much what it says on the tin. It's a book about a, hobo dog, which I'd like to read to you, but some of it will kind of be lost in me not necessarily being able to show pictures. Maybe I'll do a book tour of Dominic before I read it. The first two of the Emery Jones series, which is by the same guy who wrote Middle Passage, which I showed you up there. He drew these as well, and they're written by him and my good friend Liz. Very cool books. You should seek them out. Look them up on Amazon. Order them. They're great. I guarantee it. For reasons I've already noted, I will not be reading them on the channel, but these are really, really good books, you guys. You can see this is kind of a take on a famous Superman cover. 20 Millionaires Sock Monkey. Fun, but I'm not going to read that out loud. Monster, another one by Walter Dean Myers again. Another one that is just viewpoint. I don't feel like it's fair to take that on, kind of cultural appropriation if I were to read that out loud, but you should seek it out. I believe Mr. Myers signed this book to me. Let's take a gander. Yep, Patrick, best wishes, Walter Dean Myers. Two more Terry Pratchett's, which, again, yeah, twist my arm. I might be willing to read you Terry Pratchett. Not even necessarily those two books. Just suggest a Terry Pratchett to me. That would be the best way for me to get into a series that I've never heavily gotten into. I've read these two, but Discworld has always kind of been foreign to me, and I would love to dig in. So that's the end of this bookshelf. Apologies for the washing or the dryer noise in the background. I will see you guys on the next shelf.